Hey, 10 is the time. It's AM 650 KGAB Radio. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So it's a Wednesday. Over the hump we go. And in the studio with me is Sam. Let's make sure I get this right because you know how bad I am with it. Sam Galeotos. Because I did that correct. Okay, and he's running for governor of the state of Wyoming. One of I'd say, long and growing list of contestants. And I'd say this time around, probably some people, even some characters coming out of the woodwork, not present company accepted, but some characters coming out of the woodwork that we haven't heard of before. So now, for those who don't know you, where are you from?
I'm from Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Cheyenne, Wyoming. And you've been, what's your career? Is it a political career that you had?
No, I'm a businessman, not a politician. I've worked both nationally and globally in the travel technology industry.
Okay.
And I came back here, after I was done with that.
Okay. And when you came back to Cheyenne, Wyoming, what did you do when you landed here?
Well, first of all, I met my wife, Stacy, and now I have two beautiful little girls, Nicolette and Isabella. And then I got deeply involved in community. I worked a great deal with the Cheyenne Boys and Girls Club, Cheyenne Frontier Days, Cheyenne Regional Medical Center, Wyoming Travel and Tourism. And I've also started a number of different businesses in the ranching, farming, food service, and hospitality industries, not only here in Cheyenne, but in Albany County and Carbon County and Goshen County.
Okay. So this time around, you decided to run for governor, which is quite a leap, I mean, from what you've done before. So there must have been something that made you want to get into the race and become governor. Was there a catalyst moment, or was it a lot of little things?
You know, I think like with everything, we go through evolutions, and I, more recently have been the executive chairman of the board for Greenhouse Data here in Cheyenne, and I, view Greenhouse as one of the premier technology companies in Wyoming right now. And as I started to look at what was going on with, our financial deficits with the state and a lot of the other challenges we have, the topic came up, and I took the ball and ran with it from there. And really, I feel like based on my background, skills, and experiences that I'm the right person right now to take the helm of the state. The governor is the chief executive of the state, and I've served as a chief executive in the real world, many times, many different companies. And there's, unique things that come with that you learn over that through those positions. And right now we need to, make a change in Wyoming, and I know how to do that.
Okay. Change specifically to what? From what? So in other words, right now, people will argue that Wyoming has more government per capita than most other states. So are you a big government guy or a small government guy? Where do you place yourself?
Yeah, I adhere to the conservative value of limited government. There's no question about that. I believe, through my career, I've worked at the local level, the state level, the national and the international level, and I've seen too often how government can get in the way of free enterprise. So I am totally a limited government type of person.
Okay. Sam Galeotos is my guest. And by the way, if anyone has any questions, 632-6500 is the phone number, and just go ahead and introduce yourself and let them know what your concerns are. One of mine would be, so we have a program called Endow here in the state of Wyoming. Would you keep the program, grow the program, eliminate the program?
I right up front, I really like the aspirational aspects of Endow. I mean, clearly we need to move beyond just the energy industry in Wyoming. But from my background being in the business world, there are several great Endow initiatives, and I would like to make sure that we put good rigor around those initiatives and that we are right up front laying out what our expectations are, how long we need to provide support, and what are we going to get at the end of the day. Like any business case, taking it in business, you take it to your board, you say, here's what our plan is, and here's what we expect to get from it, and then you deliver on that plan. So I love the aspirational aspects of it. I think where I would come in would be by using my background and making sure we put rigor around each of those initiatives.
Well, and one of the items in Endow is the idea of maybe subsidizing airlines across Wyoming, or an airline that would service Wyoming. Would that be something you're in favor of?
Well, I believe that we are currently, the state currently subsidizes product right now. I believe that we need to sit down and look at and partner with the airline community. I've worked in the airline community. I used to work with Delta Airlines, and I've worked in travel and tourism most of my career. So I believe that there are opportunities to sit down and partner with private enterprise to make things happen.
So right now, school funding, after this past legislative session, they made a lot of cuts to school funding. Is more needed? Do we need to find more taxes? There's obviously a deficit there.
Yeah, I think the answer in that lies in the broader sense that we have a huge deficit that we're dealing with in our state budget. And I really believe that, we need to have economic growth to get beyond that larger issue. As far as it relates to education, I really like the standpoint of being a little bit more aspirational in it. When we look at education right now, all the discussions around the finances. And I really think what we need to do is there's one thing that's very important in education, and that is learning. Learning is the most important thing. And learning takes place between a teacher and a student. And everything outside of that is really secondary in my mind. So I would like to see us change the dialogue to what are the outcomes that we're looking for, and let's define those outcomes. I mean, let's face it, we're Wyoming. We're only 580,000 people. We have 93,000 kids in our K through 12 program. It's clear that we've invested significantly in education for our kids. And I believe there's a way to take that desire, that investment, and really create a great model that really should be the envy of the rest of America. I mean, we have the perfect opportunity in Wyoming. It's very close to us. It's very controllable, and we should be able to create the better mousetrap in education.
So grow your way out of it, basically, is what you're saying. But that would be, this just gets us into diversifying the economy.
Yeah, I'm all about economic growth. I think, I'm a big believer that you play to your strengths and you provide for your weaknesses. Yeah. You support your weaknesses. So I really believe that we need to turn to our three largest industries. Energy, number one. I think we need to, I keep talking to people, and we still have issues at the, getting permits at both the state and federal level. That needs to be fixed. I think travel and tourism is a huge opportunity for this state. We have many assets around the state. We need to take advantage of that. And I think we need to protect one of our oldest and legacy industries, agricultural, through new innovations in agriculture. And we should lead that as a state.
So what is the key then to bringing new businesses and new types of industry into the state of Wyoming? That's one of the things the current Endow program is trying to do, but past governors and legislative bodies have been trying for decades to diversify this economy.
Yeah, and I think we have some things that we need to do right up front. For example, we also have opportunities to be more efficient in state government. So, the legislature last year passed an efficiency study. That study's been completed, and it identified up to $200 million worth of opportunities to get more efficient in government. Luckily, the legislature came back again this session and approved phase 2 of that study. I would anticipate that we'll end up finding out that there's not only another $200 million of opportunities, but maybe more than that. So I think that we need to really work on several fronts at one time. I think that we need to, focus on our key industries and grow them more significantly than they are today. I think we need to make government more efficient. And I think there's a third leg to that, and that is, our state investments. We need to focus in on improving the returns we're getting from our state investments today. We have roughly $20 billion of money invested. I think that, if we were to look at even raising our return rate 1%, on that $20 billion, that would create a lot of money to help us not only in economic development, but also to reduce our deficit. So I think there are opportunities to kind of as a platform to getting us to the right place. We have already dabbled in the industries of technology and manufacturing. I think I mentioned to you before we went on air, I'm the chairman of Greenhouse Data here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. We have now grown from just Cheyenne as our primary location to 9 locations throughout the country that are all managed, out of Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I think we need to look at some of these other industries and figure out how we can leverage what we're already doing into longer-term opportunities.
Sam Galeotos is my guest. He's running for governor of the state of Wyoming. If you have any questions, 632-6500. Let you guys have at it. So, okay, that brings me then to land in Wyoming that is owned by the federal government, because there is a push out there to transfer the lands back to the state of Wyoming. Some think it's a wonderful idea. Some hate the idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on both heads there. I would be a proponent of the state taking over management of the lands. And if we do that, we need to make sure that we're supporting all the different constituencies. We need to support the recreational aspects on the property. We need to, support agriculture, and we need to support energy development. I think that the state, when you sit back and look at it, would do a better job of managing those lands than the federal government does. I know that's a very sensitive topic, but I think that clearly we would do a better job managing them.
Okay, what about managing things like our healthcare, for example? Because we've been left in a position now where we have one insurance company and we're still under this Obamacare. We're still stuck under this for now. Is there any way, and you know me, I'm a free market guy, to open up the free market for the state of Wyoming so I can get back to making my own decisions?
Yeah, I think you and I are probably going to sing from the same song sheet there. I'm a free market guy, and you know what? Healthcare is a challenge right now. We have Wyoming businesses and Wyoming families that are suffering because of what's gone on back in Washington. Clearly, Washington isn't moving anything forward right now, and so as governor, I would I have a list of areas of focus that I'll be talking about later today. And, healthcare is one of those. And I really think as governor, the people can count on me to make something happen with private industry in that regard. I have many small businesses right now that we operate in southeastern Wyoming. We're suffering like everybody else is. Something needs to be done.
Okay. So, again, is the solution, Governor Mead wanted to expand Medicaid in the state of Wyoming. Is it solutions like that, or do I get to buy across state lines, less regulation?
Bingo.
How do you fight the federal government?
We need to push on free market solutions,
okay,
and that's where we need to go with that. It worked before. We need to get back to
okay.
that.
Now that would be a little bit easier with the Trump administration,
absolutely,
in office right now. But if you wind up back in a situation where, again, you're battling the federal government over that, this gets back to with the land issue and the healthcare issue. Where do the rights of Wyomingites begin and the rights of the federal government end?
Right now I'm a states' rights person.
Yeah.
And, right now we have a great environment with the Trump administration. And, one of the first things I would do if I'm elected governor is I would get on the airplane, I would be back to Washington, I would be meeting with the Trump administration, I'd be talking to them about health care, I'd be talking to them about how they can help us, streamline the permitting process for our mineral industry, amongst a number of other things. My history is I take action and I get things done. And so that would be one of the first things on my agenda, is to establish that relationship and get some things done.
Okay, switching gears one more time. There's a bill that was in front of Governor Mead that he didn't sign, but he didn't veto it either, was Stand Your Ground in the state of Wyoming. And so, again, there would be those who would be concerned with, are you in favor of Stand Your Ground? Are you in favor of gun rights in the state of Wyoming? And that also goes into hunting and so on. So the rights of the sportsmen.
Yeah. So it's probably, appropriate to really let everybody know who I am. And, first and foremost, I'm a man of faith. I'm pro-life, I'm pro-family, and I'm pro-Second Amendment.
Okay.
And so those, I am right on board with the Stand Your Ground positions. And I think that, Wyoming has led in a lot of areas, and clearly we've led in that area all along.
Okay. So you get into the governor's mansion, which, by the way, you already have a house in Cheyenne, right?
I do.
You would have to move into the governor's mansion then. Okay. So would you rent the place? What do you do?
Well, you know what? I don't want to get the cart before the horse, so I'll have to figure that one out later on.
Thinking about those things. All right, so you move into the place then, and right away you take a look at Wyoming government, and I will give Governor Meade this for the period of time that he's been in office. The size of Wyoming government has shrunk a bit. Now, there's some things he added that I didn't like, but it shrunk a little bit. Overall, in the first 4 years of being governor, would you be shrinking the size of Wyoming government? What's the strategy?
You know, I think on day one, I would immediately. I think it's the executive branch's responsibility to pick up these 2 efficiency studies that have been conducted, and to immediately begin to pursue the recommendations. Now, you're never. My experience with those kind of studies, I've done that in private industry. You're not going to get everything that's in there. Everything's not going to really be work that's in there. But I think number one priority walking into the office is you need to pick up those 2 studies. We've paid to have them done. They've produced great results, and you need to focus on, the governor needs to be held accountable by the legislature to take that work and make something happen with it.
Okay. Now, when you diversify, as we've talked about diversifying the economy for the state of Wyoming, then you have to think about how taxation is done in the state of Wyoming. There's already been passed the idea of an internet sales tax with some companies as well. But also, would you diversify the tax structure? In other words, we're so heavily leaning right now on the energy industry. Do you find a way of maybe spreading out the tax structure so when we hit the next bust, we don't hit the same problems with money rolling into Cheyenne as we did before?
I'm really adverse to the discussion on taxes, to be honest with you. I again go back to, I think we have 3 great opportunities right now. We talk about diversity, but it's really all about economic growth. And I think by focusing on our core strengths, travel and tourism, energy, and agriculture, taking these efficiency studies that have been laid on the table by the legislature, and then looking at the returns that we're getting from that $20 billion we have invested, I would be driving to find a path forward through those 3 things.
Sam Galeotos is running for governor of the state of Wyoming, so you leave here. Now, this is going to get busy. Every candidate I know for governor has gone through at least a set of tires driving across the state. So where do you go? What's the strategy? And I see I'm going to bring her on. You brought Amy Edmonds on board, who used to be in the state legislative body over here yourself. So now, are you guys going across the state? What's the strategy?
Yeah, after today, I'm getting in the car and I'll be gone, and I'll be in and out of Cheyenne. I really, had the opportunity as a young kid to bond with the state in general. My dad was a state employee, and he worked in both the Cliff Hansen and Stan Hathaway administration. So as a kid, I was able to go around in the summer times with him, and so I'm very much looking forward to getting around the state. I come from the travel and tourism industry. I'm used to traveling. I love it, and so I'm looking to getting around the state and to meeting people and understanding, what they feel their issues are and what their priorities are, so that I can continue to walk down the path. We all need to be great learners. Okay. And that's what I'm going to focus on.
Where do people find you? Online?
Yeah, samforgovernor.com.
That's why I couldn't. Just samforgovernor.com.
Sam for just plain and simple.
That's easy enough. There,
I'm a simple guy.
And of course, can they email you, call you?
Yes, they can email me at samforgovernor.com, sam@samforgovernor.com.
Okay, thanks for coming in. Coming up at 8:30, it's AM 650 KGAB Radio.